Have you ever noticed how quickly people react in certain situations? A small comment, a disagreement, a message that feels dismissive. And suddenly the response is immediate, emotional, defensive, sometimes even harsh. Only later does the person pause and think, why did I react like that? The interesting question is this: why do human beings react before they think? And the answer lies deep inside the architecture of the mind. Let's talk about the automatic brain. Human beings like to believe that they are rational. We imagine that when something happens, we calmly think about it and then respond wisely. But neuroscience and psychology suggest something very different. Much of a behavior is automatic. Before the conscious mind begins to analyze a situation, the brain has already started preparing a reaction. This happens in a part of the brain very often associated with emotional processing and survival responses. In other words, the brain is designed to react first and think later. And historically, this made perfect sense. If early humans stopped to analyze every situation logically, they would not have survived very long. Imagine hearing a sudden sound in the forest. The body had to react instantly, run, hide, defend. Thinking carefully could come later. The survival mechanism is still very much active within us today. Even though our modern challenges are no longer wild animals in the forest, the brain often responds as if they were. Let's look at emotional memory and conditioning. Another reason people react quickly is because the mind carries emotional memory. Every experience we go through leaves behind a subtle imprint. Over time, these experiences create patterns. In many traditions, these patterns are described as conditioning, habits, or even sanskaras. When something in the present moment resembles a past experience, the mind does not treat it as a completely new situation. Instead, it activates the old pattern. The reaction that appears today may actually belong to something that happened years ago. For example, imagine someone who once experienced criticism in a very painful way. Later in life, even a small piece of feedback might trigger a defensive reaction. The mind is not reacting only to the present moment. It is reacting to the memory attached to it. Let's look into the speed of emotions. Another important factor is that emotions move faster than rational thought. The thinking mind takes time. It analyzes, it evaluates, it weighs possibilities, but emotional responses can arise in a fraction of a second. That is why sometimes you may say something in the heat of the moment and later think, I wish I had responded differently. The emotional system acted quickly, while the reflective mind arrived slightly later. Let's talk about how the body reacts before the mind. Reactions are not only mental, they are also physiological. When something feels threatening or uncomfortable, the body begins to change. Heart rate increases, muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow. This physical reaction prepares the body to act. At that moment, the system is not focused on calm reflection. It is focused on protection. This is why many reactions feel so intense, and they involve the whole nervous system. Let's also look at the inner filters. Another layer of this process involves what psychology and NLP describe as mental filters. Every person sees the world through a unique internal map. This map is shaped by upbringing, beliefs, experiences, and values. Two people can hear the same sentence and interpret it in completely different ways. One person might perceive criticism. Another person might hear a helpful suggestion because perception differs. Reactions differ as well. Often, we are not reacting to reality itself. We are reacting to our interpretation of reality. And all this is because of the absence of the observer. Perhaps the most important reason people react before thinking is that they have not yet developed the skill of inner observation. Most people are completely identified with their thoughts and emotions. When a feeling arises, it immediately becomes the reaction. There is no space between the stimulus and the response. However, when awareness begins to grow, something interesting happens. A small gap appears. In that gap, you begin to notice the reaction forming. Instead of immediately expressing it, you become aware of it. This is the moment where conscious choice becomes possible. So let's focus on the power of the pause. Many traditions of mindfulness, meditation, and personal development emphasize the importance of a simple but powerful skill, the pause. When awareness is present, the mind begins to recognize its own patterns. You may still feel the emotional reaction arising, but instead of being controlled by it, you observe it. And in that observation, the reaction often loses some of its intensity. This pause does not require suppression. It simply requires awareness. And in that brief moment, the reactive mind slowly transforms into the reflective mind. And that's what we talk about in our channel Inner Architecture. So if we look at this process through the lens of inner development, reactions are not a problem to eliminate. They are signals. They reveal the patterns that exist within us. Each reaction points towards something that has not yet been fully understood. Instead of judging our reactions harshly, we can begin to approach them with curiosity. What triggered this response? What belief lies behind it? What past experience might be influencing it? When we ask these questions, reactions become opportunities for insight. So friends, human beings react before they think because the mind is designed for survival, shaped by memory, influenced by emotion, and filtered through personal experience. But there is another capacity within us, the ability to observe our own reactions. The moment awareness enters the process, something shifts. Instead of being driven only by old patterns, we begin to respond with greater clarity. And slowly, the architecture of the inner world begins to change, because transformation does not begin by controlling behavior. It begins by seeing the patterns that create it. Thank you very much.